I am not that great at woodworking, so I like to add other materials like stone to differentiate my projects and take advantage of my medium skill level. Rocks are also way cheaper than wood, especially hardwoods, and this level of rock fabrication is very beginner friendly. I bought this 28-pound rock for 30 cents a pound from my local landscape supply yard. I need to put a flat bottom on it and then cut a notch into the top, but let's start with the flattened bottom. I dipped it in water so I could just draw a line with a Sharpie right around that watermark. This isn't super accurate, but we're not building the pyramids here, and it's good enough for a beginner level stone project. Typically I would use an angle grinder here with a tile cutting blade, but I'm trying something a little bit different. I'm using this tile saw that has a water reservoir. It's really easy to fill up and you just turn it on and it drips water onto the blade, which keeps the dust down, which improves visibility, and it cuts through this rock pretty easily. The blade is about 5 inches in diameter, and it bottoms out on the guard and the arbor, so we're not going to cut all the way through this thing. We're just going to try to cut a line around 2 inches around the perimeter and keep it mostly consistently straight. This thing performs something like in between a circular saw and an angle grinder. It's kind of handy. I'd use it mostly on pavers. It's really good for that because you can clamp down a straight edge and just really glide along the same way you would a circular saw. Now going forward, I'll still probably use the angle grinder a lot more. I'm just faster with it, I have a lot of experience, and I have a really good dust mask with the forced air. But for people that are more home improvement minded versus like hardcore makers that are using a lot of angle grinding, I think this is like a pretty good choice. I tried hitting it with a hammer, but I couldn't quite break off the whole piece. So instead what I do is chip in at an angle on the bottom piece that's going to be sacrificial. That just allows me to get the chisel in deeper, and now I can start cracking away at the core that isn't cut or scored at all. I also got a little more room because the rock slopes away, so I could put one more little score line and then bust the whole thing off. That came out reasonably well, but definitely is far from flat. And in particular, the middle of the rock is bowing up a little bit. So I'm just going to take that same tile saw and put some score lines in the middle. Because you see, we don't actually need the rock to be perfectly flat in order for it to sit perfectly flat. In fact, most vessels, like a wine bottle or a coffee cup, have a little indentation in the bottom, so it's just the perimeter that's consistent and sits flat on a surface. I'm just trying to remove material out of the center, so I made some score lines, hit those little slivers with the chisel, and chipped them right off. Now if you are more proficient with an angle grinder, I do recommend that. It's pretty fast, and particularly with these low-cost grinding wheels, you can start removing a lot of the high points pretty quickly. But as you can see, without the addition of water, it's a lot more dusty, so be sure to use appropriate face mask and lung protection. So after about 20 minutes of work, we have a pretty decent base. It's not really wobbling, but it's not consistently hitting the floor, and it would scratch up hardwood floors pretty easily. So here's a little trick that I find super handy. I squirt some 2-part epoxy. I just get this stuff from Quikrete. It's anchoring epoxy used for gluing metal to concrete. And I just squirt some on a silicone pad, plop the rock on. In about 4 hours, I have a smooth surface where the epoxy fills in the gaps between the flat floor and the medium flat rock. Now I have a non-scuffed surface that's perfect. I do have to chisel away a little bit of the excess epoxy that's squeezed out, but that's relatively easy to do. For the notch, I decided to start with the tile saw. Normally, I would go right to the angle grinder here, but I like the idea of trying to set up a track in case that would allow me to keep the saw level. Now these passes are pretty deep, so I decided to have the track be a little bit high and the blade set high as well. So I'm just making passes part of the way through, then I can lower the blade down and go a little bit deeper till I hit that max depth. This is also interesting too because the rock isn't clamped down, so I can't push too hard on the blade, which is good because you don't want to force a saw blade through the material. And overall, this track system was sort of clever, but not really that much more beneficial than just hacking at it with the angle grinder. That being said, I do think this type of experimentation is important over the long run. A lot of the techniques that I end up using as my go-tos were developed this way, where I get a little tool that's maybe not quite perfect for the job, try making some jigs for it, and just keep experimenting it. One, it keeps things kind of fresh as a maker and non-repetitive, and two, every once in a while you discover a really great trick that works super well. I've been testing out new blades for the angle grinder, and this one's for like demolition work with brick, and so it has like a 1/4 inch wide blade. I don't really like it. I actually think my favorite for just removing material is the cheapest tile cutting blades from Home Depot, and I get like a 3-pack for $28. The wider blade adds a lot more weight, and it feels like it's dragging more and just taxing the tool more than it needs to without adding that much additional cutting power or saving time. The bench is going to be made out of 1 3/4 inch thick ash, so I gave it a little check fit and was very pleased to see that I was level right off the bat. So now for the woodworking, I need to know the height of the top of the notch in the rock so I can make this waterfall edge on the ash bench just the right height. Not using a full wood shop here, just basic handheld power tools. And I find for boards this size, it's not that hard for me to get pretty good perpendicular cuts with a circular saw and speed square. The one complication I had here was that this board had a little bit of tension and twist to it. And so it squeezed up around the blade. No big deal there. I just kind of put a chisel or a screwdriver in the end to kind of loosen that clamp down and was able to get a pretty decent cut. I gotta rip down a piece that's gonna be the support that fits into the notch. So I just clamped a scrap piece of wood and just ripped all the way through. The wood wasn't in tension here, so this cut went super easy. And ideally you would have a table saw, but table saws are expensive and they take up a lot of room. So kind of thought it was fun to show that you can do this kind of basic woodworking with tools that don't take up that much space. And this reminds me of my old days when I got started above my architecture firm in a little tiny attic in Boston, where I was working in this cramped space with just a few basic tools, but still pretty proud of those projects all these years later. I got this whole ash board for just about like $60 or $70, and part of it was because there's a bunch of dog-eared parts on the edges, and I don't mind that. I'm just going to sand it smooth, and that'll be part of the design. Ultimately, I'm going to connect the pieces with glue and screws, but I'm going to start just with glue. I like to kind of glue the piece down, get it in the right position, and then I just find that makes it a lot easier to pre-drill my holes without having everything clamped and the clamps getting in the way of your drill and your screws. So I like to glue it first, and for this kind of simple stuff, I'll just add the screws in later. Now I do want to be really careful of squeeze out here because I already sanded these boards and it's kind of a pain to sand into long corners. So I was minimal on the glue and I'm going to count on those screws later to give us a little reinforcement. It's also kind of tricky to clamp a board down into the middle of a wider board, so I had to use some scrap and get a little creative with it. Now these screws really won't be that visible because they're on the underside of the piece, but I think it's going to be nice to cover them with wood pegs anyways. So I drilled some 3/4 inch holes about 1.5 inches deep. That's going to allow my 3-inch screws to actually reach through to the bench top, and then also give me a wider hole that I can actually cover up with the dowels. And this wood's pretty hard, so I pre-drilled all the holes, not just the big holes for the dowels. Once again, I'm being real careful with the squeeze out here. Just a little bit of glue at a time, spread it around, and then place the piece. Now, using a speed square and a circular saw is not going to give you the same results as a fully set up wood shop. My cuts aren't perfectly 90 degrees, but I'm close enough. And so you might see a little bit of a hairline crack that isn't perfectly even. Oh, you can see it a little bit right there. But you let me know what you think. Should I be a little more obsessive and have a little tighter quality control? Or for a simple project with low cost materials, do you think this is good enough? I didn't have any ash dowels on hand, so I'm using oak dowels that I got from Home Depot. These dowels were more expensive than the rock itself. And it's not a perfect match, but it's actually pretty close. 3/4 inch dowels is definitely oversized for what I need, but it's what they had on hand and I couldn't find 1/2 inch ones. And I figured the minute they're visible, they're going to be visible, so might as well be a little bit intentional with it. So 3/4 inch it is. Now, that's probably just a little bit of post-rationalization, which I'm prone to do, but I don't know. It feels like nice, solid, kind of wholesome-y design. I used to hold off on recommending Rubio Monocoat for kind of more moderate level woodworking because it is an expensive product. but it's just so easy to apply. Like I've never really screwed it up. Like it just wipes on with a rag, obviously after you clean off the dust, and you just let it sit for 15 minutes, check for wet spots, and then wipe off the excess, and it's a really good finish. Like I know really super pro woodworkers that use it all the time. So for ease of use and just general good looks, I highly recommend it. Just try to measure it out sparingly, right? Because again, it is kind of on the expensive side. Now for the rock, I'm just doing a few coats of mineral oil, actually the same stuff I use on cutting boards in woodworking. I just find it like kind of seals up the rock and makes it a little bit more stain resistant. Not stain proof, just a little bit more stain resistant. And it also brings out the color temporarily before it all kind of soaks in. This was a pretty low cost project, and I would say that it falls somewhere between DIY and kind of medium to the low of high end. Like this could totally sell in a boutique furniture store. And there's a lot of homes that this could look good in. The design isn't going to blow anyone away with its complication, but every rock is unique, so you're already kind of ahead of the game where the novelty kind of earns it a little bit more one of one status than just woodworking alone. I'm going to give you a candid evaluation of this project and some thoughts on the design, but first let's hear a word from our sponsor, which involves me wearing cowboy boots, so might want to check it out. Joshua Tree is in California, but it's more western in style than it is coastal. And so I'm really excited to partner with Tecovas that hooked me up with some western wear that'll be perfect for a night out in Pioneer Town. The jeans are an authentic boot cut made out of real denim, and I paired that with a belt buckle that I made myself. I love a good pearl snap western style shirt, and this is Tecovas vintage weight in the chambray storm. For the boots I went with the Doc. And I really like that they offered them in a wide fit, because there's nothing worse than boots that are too long in the toe. Seriously, these boots feel broken in from the first time I put them on. And what guy's gonna get mad about being just a little bit taller? I was pleasantly surprised with how comfortable everything was, while the materials feel heritage and authentic. And the vintage vibes are perfect for Joshua Tree. Tecovas also offer some customization. You can do leather stamping or branding as an option. I also recommend checking out a Tecovas store to get complimentary drinks and a free boot shine. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to get your new favorite pair of boots today. Thank you Tecovas for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to click that link. All right, so bench, nice and stable. That being said, if I sit near the end, it can rock a little bit. So not that big of an issue for what I'm going to use it for, and I probably think it's better suited as a coffee table. But if I really didn't want it to rock, what I would do is cut the rock channel deeper and use a longer support beam underneath it, just so that that rock would lock more wood into place. Now, deeper cuts would be a little bit harder, particularly when you're dealing with an angle grinder or the tile saw that I was using, because the biggest blades I can do on those is 5-inch diameter, and so that limits me to cutting about a 2 to 2¼ inch deep channel. But if I was using the bigger saw and a bigger rock, I could probably do like a 4 or 5-inch deep channel with a considerable beam here, and that's how I was doing it if I was doing a much bigger coffee table or a really big bench that had to be rock solid. The other option is to do what I've done with a lot of my other rock and wood projects, is not just rely on the slot, but I could put a steel pin both in the wood and into the rock, and that would just lock it in a little bit more. That way the cut in the rock wouldn't have to go so deep, but I'd have 2 inches of steel going past the bottom of the rock cut, and then another 2 inches of steel going into the wood itself. So that would just give us a little tighter fit between these two. So few options there, but what I love about these projects is that you're taking very beginner level rock cutting. Just hacking off that bottom. We didn't get it perfectly straight. Use the epoxy to get it to sit nice and flat. Pretty easy to carve out these channels. And then this is just woodworking 101. Real simple, straight cuts. We used a hardwood this time, which I don't always do, but ash is on the more affordable side. So I think this is a great way if you have a little bit of woodworking skill and maybe you don't have like a full shop setup to do really impressive, like high-end woodworking. Adding a little gimmick like a rock can really separate you beyond the skill level that you're currently at. So I love this idea of mixing rocks in with wood
instead of epoxy in with wood. So great combination of materials, and give it a try.